Please be ready for a dictation of Part 7 of the Supreme Court judgment. It is Criminal Appellate Jurisdiction, Criminal Appeal Numbers 1140 and 1141 of 2010. 5 seconds. Start. This decision has been usually followed by this court in various cases, such as Muhammad Rojali Ali versus State of Assam, Laltu Ghosh versus State of West Bengal, Khurshid Ahmed versus State of J&K, and Shanmugam versus State. Coming to the arguments of learned senior counsel for the appellants, that since the X was recovered from a public place, it should not have been held to be in the possession of Buddhi Singh, or that an X was also recovered from Narinder Singh, with whom parity was sought. It is clear from the facts that this was a farming community in rural Himachal, where tools like axes are found in everyone's homes. The argument that the spot of incident was doubtful, as there was a blood trail outside the house as deposed by PW 16, ASI Jesse Ram, carries no force. The presence of random blood marks elsewhere could not put in doubt the fact that the incident happened in the house of the complainant, from where the same witness recovered sticks, blood-stained stone, glass splinters, pieces of wood, and leftover food, etc. The fact that the ASI did not find it necessary or even material to investigate the blood marks shows that they had no legal impact on the investigative conclusions. It is pertinent to note that independent witness PW 14 Lahulu Ram also corroborated the recovery of broken pieces of the door, broken bulb, stones, blood-stained soil, etc. from the house of the complainant. Non-examination of many alleged bystanders is well explained, as it is clear from the fact that the complainant's family had prior litigation with some people in the village, and most of them had socially boycotted the victim's family. The fact that 9 persons who were initially accused in the FIR but not charge-sheeted subsequently were not arraigned as prosecution witnesses is understandable. It is not necessary for the prosecution to examine every cited or possible witness, so long as the prosecution case can withstand the test of proof beyond doubt. Non-examination of all or every witness is immaterial. The court in Sarwan Singh versus State of Punjab was of the view that the onus of proving the prosecution case rests entirely on the prosecution, and it follows as a logical corollary that the prosecution has complete liberty to choose its witnesses if it is to prove its case. The court cannot compel the prosecution to examine one witness or the other as its witness. At the most, if a material witness is withheld, the court may draw an adverse inference against the prosecution. The law is well settled that the prosecution is bound to produce only such witnesses as are essential for unfolding of the prosecution narrative. In other words, before an adverse inference against the prosecution can be drawn, it must be proved to the satisfaction of the court that the witnesses who had been withheld were eyewitnesses who had actually seen the occurrence and were therefore material to prove the case. It is not necessary for the prosecution to multiply witnesses after witnesses on the same point. It is the quality rather than the quantity of the evidence that matters. In the instant case, the evidence of the eyewitnesses does not suffer from any infirmity or any manifest defect on its intrinsic merit. Similarly, the doubt cast on the actual time of death, relying on PW3, Dr. D.D. Rana's statement does not inspire confidence, as he, besides stating that the time between the death and the post-mortem was within 10 hours, has also deposed that the time between the death of Swari Devi and the injury was within 5-10 minutes, thereby supporting the prosecution witnesses who deposed that she died on the spot owing to the injuries. Coming to the case of Narinder Singh, whose acquittal has been upheld by the High Court also, it is imperative to point out that the FIR, though not an encyclopedia of the entire incident, is the most spontaneous account of it. It is very hard to believe that the complainant, who walked 7 hours overnight to reach the police station to record his account of the incident, would forget to mention a fatal attack with a deadly weapon on his deceased mother by Narinder Singh as well. Such a major omission on the complainant's part is very material to contradict his testimony in court with regard to his belated allegations against Narinder Singh. The medical evidence has also not substantiated such allegations against Narinder Singh. The High Court has also acted on consistent and corroborated evidence against Buddhi Singh and Achhar Singh, which was conspicuously missing in the case of Narinder Singh. Likewise, the contention relying on PW11's statement that the police could not have arrived before the FIR was filed does not defeat the case of the prosecution, as it is a minor contradiction, considering that PW 16 ASI Jesse Ram has deposed that he reached the house of the complainant at 1 p.m. on 24/2/1996. The argument that there was no reason for Buddhi Singh to start a fight with his neighbors on the day of his daughter's wedding also does not help the appellants. The High Court has specifically pointed out that his daughter's wedding was solemnized 2 days prior to the date of the incident, and there is no credible evidence as to whether a wedding function was underway at the relevant time. Even Buddhi Singh has not said so in his statement under Section 313 CRPC. Stop.